In 1788, the Austrian Empire under the rule of Joseph II was at war with the Ottoman Sultan, Selim III. This military conflict is known as the Austro-Turkish War. From 1788 to 1791, about 100,000 Austrian troops were guarding the town of Karánsebes near the Timis River, present-day Romania, and held defensive position against an incoming Ottoman attack. But a disaster struck them, all of them were drunk, and in a confusion a massive friendly fire occurred, and about 150 men died. The Russian Empire under the rule of Catherine the Great had been involved in several conflicts with the Ottomans due to her expansion policy that targeted the access to the Black Sea, and in 1787 a new war broke out between the two belligerents. Joseph II, who made an alliance with Russia in 1781, wanted to enter the war against the Ottomans in support of its ally and to expand its sphere of influence. Austria entered the war in February 1788, but by now they lost their best chance at an easy victory. The slow Russian preparation resulted in a big Ottoman concentration around Belgrade. By July, the Ottoman forces under Koca Yusuf Pasha were crossing the Danube in the Austrian territory known as the Austrian Banat. At that time, in mid-August, Joseph dispatched 20,400 Serbian troops in Banat, and the Serbian Free Corps, composed of refugees, were formed to fight for the liberation of Serbia and the unification under Habsburg rule. The army of Austria, approximately 100,000 in total, was setting up camps around Karánsebes, a town near the Timis River. The army's vanguard, a contingent of hussars, crossed the river to scout for the presence of the Ottoman army. There was no signal of Ottoman forces, but the hussars came across some Romanian people who offered to sell schnapps to the weary soldiers. Soon afterwards, some infantry crossed the river. When they saw the party going on, the infantrymen demanded alcohol for themselves. The hussars refused to give them any of the schnapps, and still drunk, set up makeshift fortifications around the barrels. A heated argument ensued, and one soldier fired. Immediately, the hussars and infantry engaged in combat with one another. During the conflict, some Romanian infantry began shouting, "Turci, Turci," meaning Turks, Turks. The hussars fled the scene, thinking that the Ottoman army's attack was imminent. Most of the infantry also ran away. The army comprised Austrians, Romanians, Serbs from the military frontier, Croats, and Italians from Lombardy, as well as other minorities, many of whom could not understand one another. While it is not clear which one of these groups did so, they gave the false warning without telling the others, who promptly fled. The situation was made worse when officers, in an attempt to restore order, shouted, "Halt! Halt!" which was misheard by soldiers with no knowledge of German as Allah. As the hussars fled through the camps, a corps commander, General of Artillery Colloredo, thought that it was a cavalry charge by the Ottoman army and ordered artillery fire. Meanwhile, the entire camp awoke to the sound of battle. The panic caused by the incident demoralized the Holy Roman Emperor Joseph II to the point that he ordered the army to withdraw. 2 days later, the Ottoman army arrived. They discovered dead and wounded soldiers and easily took Karánsebes. Other sources include one from 1843, 60 years after the battle. This made some scholars felt difficulty to draw a reliable source and evidence for the detailed account of the battle. On the march thither, the army was seized with a most unaccountable panic, believed themselves to be threatened by the enemy, fell into disorder, and mistook their own troops from the Sclavonian frontiers for enemies. The regiments fired upon one another, looked everywhere for an enemy where in reality there was none, and all attempts on the part of the emperor in person to stop the firing and put an end to the confusion were in vain. He was, in fact, separated from his suite and wandered about ignorant of his way. It was even supposed that he had been taken prisoner when at length, accompanied by a single individual, he came to Karánsebes. A detailed account of the singular story of this night march and its consequences does not appear to us to belong to the province of general history. It will, however, be found both authentic and complete in the Austrian Military Magazine of 1831. In determining losses, accounts of this incident do not distinguish between losses that were caused by friendly fire, those that were caused by the Turks, and those that resulted from pillaging by the Austrians or by the local Wallachians. One account states that the Austrian rearguard suffered 150 casualties. Another account states that in the days following the incident, 1,200 wounded men were taken to the fortress at Arad, 60 kilometers north of Timisoara. Another source claims that 538 men, 24 Giga, and one officer went missing after the incident, but most returned to duty. Also lost were 3 cannons and the chest containing the army's payroll. In his account of the incident, Paul Bernard, author of a 1968 biography of the Holy Roman Emperor Joseph II, made an uncited claim that the friendly fire incident caused 10,000 casualties. Neither the Austrian War Archives records nor those who have examined them corroborate Bernard's claim. Bernard's account of the war has been dismissed as inaccurate. Nevertheless, Bernard's claim of 10,000 casualties was repeated by Geoffrey Regan. Although tens of thousands of casualties occurred within the Austrians' ranks during the course of the 1787 campaign against the Turks, the vast majority of the casualties were the result of disease, particularly malaria and dysentery.